Hey everyone, Shoma here. Hope you're well. So I wanted to do this video because I've been pondering about the best way to get my message out to talk about this. I feel this is actually quite an important topic to share, not just for anyone who owns a business or has a freelance career, but for anybody who uses the internet or uses social media. I naively always thought that by using social media for my business, I had a safeguard in place and I had a right to access what I needed to. Unfortunately, that has not always been the case on some platforms, and I'm going to talk a little bit about that in this video. I'm not having a go at anybody in particular, I'm just trying to raise awareness and exposure on this, not because of what's happened to me, which I'll talk about in a minute, but because I know for a fact this is happening to lots of people, and I feel like I have to address it rather than be somebody who doesn't address it, because I feel like during 2020 we have had a lot of things that have happened, and this is going to seem trivial to a lot of people, but I want to put into context why it isn't trivial for the people who may be living on their own or cannot access any other form of communication to communicate with loved ones abroad, or even, people who are nearby to them. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about what I'm talking about now in a bit more context. For those of you who've been following me for a while online, you know that I avidly post on LinkedIn. And in June of this year, I was hacked on Facebook. As a result of that, both my Facebook account, where I had nearly 1,000 likes, and my Instagram account, which had just under 3,000 followers, was disabled. When you run a small business, like I do, I've been running my business for 4 years now, and I've had a lot of support and mentorship from a really, really amazing people, and I feel grateful for that, because that's why I'm able to do this video in this kind of way. But in another way, when you're hacked, it is incredibly stressful to go through that experience. I'm not going to go into all of the kind of details about exactly what happened, and I'm not going to blame anyone in this video, as I've already said. But when this incident happened, I still don't know how I got hacked. There was an article written by a man called Graham, who was also hacked, and I'll put a link to his article if you want to go and read it. And I'm going to be writing an article myself talking about my experience, but also talking about the emotional impact that hacking almost has on you as an individual, especially if you are not only just running a business, but you're trying to contact people and you're trying to build relationships with people. And I'll talk more about that in this video. But firstly, where I want to start with this is that I received this email on an ordinary Saturday in June. I was sitting next to my husband, we were having a cup of tea, and it said that they had received an email basically saying that I wanted to reset my password. Found it a little bit strange because up there I was sitting with him watching TV. I'd not requested that information. Then I received another email within 10 minutes of that email saying that somebody had gained access to my account. Within that time frame, this person not only hacked into my account, but they posted offensive content in the form of an ISIS flag. As a result of that, my account was disabled. I have been on Facebook since I was 23. 13 years I've been on Facebook. And I only started using Facebook for my business for about 7 years ago, because I had another business prior to this. And it's been a tool that I have used to engage, build relationships, and I was in some really, really great groups. When that was taken away from me, I'd lost access to all of my relatives who live abroad. Thankfully, I do have other means of contacting them, but that's not the point. I also lost access to interact with business connections, and even potential clients, because I used to have quite an engaged Facebook page where I would regularly do live videos and all those sorts of things. I used to post quite regularly on Instagram as well. The reason why I'm sharing this all with you guys is that the process of me trying to retrieve my information and trying to get my Facebook back, for 3 weeks we tried, and every time we tried, if you go and read Graham's article, you'll know what I'm talking about here, you end up in a loop. You end up saying, they end up basically giving you a little dialogue box which says, reset your password. So you reset your password, and then you get this message, or you try to reset your password, and it says your message has been disabled, your account has been disabled. And you end up in a loop, and you're not able to get any support from anybody. I started a petition to raise awareness for this, because when I went on Twitter and I started talking to some people on Twitter, I found hundreds of people going through the same thing and no one was helping them. I was even tweeting to facebook.com and not hearing anything. Everything is automated. Everything has bots. I'm raising awareness around this because I didn't attempt to create another account. I was advised by lots of people, oh, sure, it's not a big deal, just start again, create a new account. It specifically says in their terms and conditions that you're not allowed to create a new account, and they have all of my information. So I didn't attempt to do that. I have for a few months been pondering about thinking of going back to Instagram for business purposes, just because I felt like, you know what, I want to be on there, I want to be on that platform. There are a lot of people who I want to get on my podcast. There are a lot of people who I want to connect with, who I miss seeing their posts. And I'm not able to do that right now, right? I have been able to use LinkedIn and Twitter, and thankfully because of that, I'm still able to sustain my business. But the reason why I'm going into such detail in this video is I'm trying to share with you, this is just something that's happened to me. But for me, the worst part of all of this has been the fact that when I attempted to go back on Instagram, I was completely blocked from doing so. Your account has been disabled. You cannot do this. Essentially, because there aren't any practices in place to ideally solve the situation to determine whether somebody was hacked or whether somebody had actually, posed as me in practice. There wasn't a human being. This is all automated. As a result of that, I'm in this continuous loop where I have essentially been banned and blacklisted in a way from Facebook and Instagram. I'm sharing this because I saw a lot of really, really upsetting posts on Twitter and on other social media platforms where this has happened to people and they live on their own. And their only form of having contact with people during lockdown was Facebook. And not just that, people who rely on it for their business. I thankfully have been using other modes. I have a newsletter, I have a podcast, I feel very blessed. But I'm also sharing this because I think a lot of people have said to me, oh, maybe you didn't have enough security. Did you fall for a potential scam? What did you do, Shauna? I didn't do anything, but somehow someone was able to gain access to my information, hack into my account, and I still don't know how it happened. And all of the other hundreds of thousands of people it's been happening to, they don't know how it happened either. And I feel like I need to do this video because essentially, these organizations dictate your right to use these platforms. Some of these platforms have become so essential to people to communicate with friends and family and with clients and customers that when you're not on there, you then are questioned, why are you not on Instagram? Why are you not on Facebook? I was watching something on the TV the other day, and I think it was something to do with raising, not awareness necessarily, but helping people who are in need of food at this difficult time in the UK. And people use Facebook groups. I really, really miss Facebook groups, and I'm not saying that the communities I've established on other platforms haven't been helpful. They have. But there have been times where I've been incredibly isolated and I've lost 2 relatives this year. And I haven't been able to interact with some of my relatives that live in America and in India, as I've already mentioned, who've gone through those losses. And I know that this has happened to other people who have been hacked, who have essentially been blacklisted from these platforms. In essence, the main reason for me doing this video was to not only raise awareness for business owners, because, it can essentially happen to all of you, whether you have 2-factor or not. I just want to verify that. These hackers are incredibly clever. But also because there is no support. I've had absolutely no support. I've put in a data request application, and I've written a letter and email. I haven't really heard anything apart from an automated email. And that's the other thing. All of that data, including the hacking of this person who decided to and pretended to be me, essentially belongs to me, weirdly. So they are associating that behavior. The behavior of someone for 14 years who never posted anything offensive. For 13 years, I never posted anything that went outside of their guidelines. So there is flaws in this system. And not just that, I feel like for a platform that goes on so much about community and helping each other and supporting each other, where is that support? It's not there. So I would really, really love you to share this video to raise awareness that once you get hacked, this is what happens, essentially. I know this is a brave step for me to share this video, but I'm not doing it so that I can necessarily be back on these platforms. I'm doing it to raise awareness to the fact that I've been made to feel like I have committed a crime when I haven't. I've been the victim of hacking, number 1. Number 2, the emotional effects of not having these platforms. A lot of my friends and family rely on Facebook Messenger. They haven't, been able to be in touch, and some people have even sidelined me, and I've had to, use other forms of contact to be in contact with them. And that's been really, really emotionally, hard on me. But also it has affected my business at times. Right after it happens, there was a complete silence in my business, and it was very, very difficult. I had to think of strategies to pivot my business, essentially. And I know that a lot of people are going through that right now in 2020. So I don't want to make it all about me. And I know a lot of people who've been hacked are having to do that. And some people have created new profiles, but I'm in a position where I can't even do that because essentially, as I said, I've been banned permanently. And they're not even going to look into the fact that I was hacked. And that is very, very unfair if you think about it. There is a human right for everybody to at least be given a chance to redeem themselves. I believe that anyway, and I'd love to know what you guys think about that in the comments. Please let me know. But I also want you to share this video because imagine somebody who has gone through this during lockdown, who not only lives on their own, but their support mechanisms are all on Facebook. What are they going to do? Most people rely on it for lots of things, not just groups, but for other things, for business, as I've mentioned, for, community, for all of these things. Please think about that for a minute, because whilst these platforms are great, that reliance on it can be really, really harmful to us as human beings, and we need to do something about that too. Thanks so much for watching this video. If you have any comments or questions about anything, please get in touch. And I hope this gives you a little food for thought, because it is something that needs to be shared and discussed.